Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Thursday morning. We start our show in the nation's capital last night. The Twins facing the old Nationals after they got to them on Tuesday. Last night, different story. Great start. Matt Wallner finally hitting. RBI. Brings in Luke Keyshaw. It's 1-0. Bailey Ober, not his best night. This ball tanked for a home run in the bottom of the fifth. 2-run shot for Washington. Makes it a 3-2 lead from Drew Millis. They're not done. Again, this Nationals team is not expected to be all that great this season. Gets away from Wallner. Not his best effort. That'll get a couple runs in. It's 8-2 in favor of Washington. You know this guy. He's the only all-star. James Wood delivers. In the bottom of the eighth, Justin Topa got lit up. His ERA is never going to be the same. It's 10-2. How about a home run for good measure? Not only that, a grand slam at that. That off the bat of C.J. Abrams. Nationals get a 2-touchdown lead on the Twins. I don't know if he got all of that one. My goodness. That made it 14-2. Nationals win it 15-2. The final. Bailey Ober, 6 hits, 5 runs in 5 innings. Justin Topa, 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 6 runs. His ERA goes to nearly 8. And the stat that you saw there on the Super as we say good morning, everybody. Whew, the Twins had a total last night of 3 hits. The Nats hit 4 home runs. That's not going to win you any ball games. They wrap up the series with a matinee today in the nation's capital. It'll be Simeons with Richardson starting for Minnesota, still looking for his first win at 0-5. Jake Irvin will pitch for Washington, or Minnesota continues its road trip. If I were to tell you that was the only painful thing to watch in Minnesota sports last night, I'd be lying. As we say good morning and welcome to Hot Mic here on a Thursday morning, the 7th day of May, 2026, a full month or week into the new month. I am Dom Izzo, host of said program. Glad you're joining us here to start your day with temperatures heading towards plus 60. We're okay with that. Yeah, not a great night for the old Minnesota 9. Dropped to 16-21 on the year and got their tails beat off last night in a game where Washington, again, the Nats are 3 games under 500 as well. It's not like they're just rolling in the National League East, but they got it against the Twins last night. Now, if you stomach that, I'm like, all right, well, the Wolves are going to give us something to cheer about after what happened in Game 1 where Minnesota went on the road and stole a 104-102 win, despite the fact the Spurs had a chance to win the game with a 3 at the buzzer that they missed. And granted, the Wolves had a 9-point lead with a minute and a half to go that saw that frittered away. So you stayed up last night like, all right, here we go. Chance to go up 2 games to none, much like 2 years ago when the Wolves in the second round won the first 2 games at Denver. And we know what happened after that. The Denver then won the next 3, and the Wolves won the final 2 to win it in 7. Well, that script is not going to follow here in 2026 because San Antonio showed last night why they won 62 basketball games during the regular season. Again, when you've got that guy, De'Aaron Fox was not good in Game 1. That was not the case last night. This should have told you everything. Rudy turns it over on a horrible pass, and watch Wemby just fly in and dunk it. Like out of nowhere. I don't know how you miss a 7'4" guy. Nobody picked him up. The crowd was going crazy from there. Devin Vassell misses. Wemby with an and one. I'm sitting there watching this at home in the first 4 minutes like, this is not going to be good. I'm not sitting here telling you I knew they were going to lose by 40, but already San Antonio came out with a different edge last night than they did on Monday. Again, Anthony Edwards came off the bench, played 24 minutes, was not good. 5 of 13 from the field. I mentioned De'Aaron Fox was good. The lefty drills a 3. Spurs are up 9. San Antonio's blown it up to a 15-point lead late in the first half. Julius Randle was doing his best, fighting down low. Gets that to drop. Randle had 12. Nobody, and I mean nobody, had a good night last night for Minnesota. Is there any boxing out happening? Put back slam from Dylan Harper, who had 11 off the bench, then drills a 3. The lead is at 26. I mean, even when they lose the ball, they get it back and hit a corner 3. Vassell had 10 last. I mean, this possession should have gone to Minnesota. Instead, it ends up being a Spurs 3. It was right about here. I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to call it a night here on the old Wolves. It actually happened on these next 2 possessions. It's a 23-point San Antonio lead. There's no resistance to the basket. Stephon Castle with an and one. 21 for him last night. Again, Jaden McDaniels got in early foul trouble. He had 3 fouls early in the second quarter, and that just takes everything out of what Minnesota wants to do, certainly defensively. Another turnover. This is when the TV was flipped to another channel. 3 ball from Champagne, knocks it down. He had 12. The lead up to, at that point, 30. Why not Wemby hit a 3? It's a 35-point San Antonio lead. They win it by 38 points last night. 133-95 for the worst playoff defeat in Timberwolves postseason history. Now, with that said, it's just one game, but San Antonio made a statement last night. Wemby, for all that, had 19 points, 15 rebounds. He came up short of the triple-double. Only had 2 blocks because the Wolves weren't going into the paint. Even after they said in game 1 they're still going to attack it, they did not last night. They turned the basketball over 22 times. That adds up to a complete butt-kicking. Afterwards, Chris Finch put it as plain as he needs to.
In that first half, just what did you see from your group that made it so difficult out there?
Well, I mean, they just kicked their butt in every aspect of the game tonight. So offensively, defensively, it didn't matter. They took it to us, and we didn't really respond very well. So.
What do you say to your team after a tough loss like this, or do you let the stat sheet speak for itself?
No, I just told them we just got punked.
Finch said y'all got punked tonight. How do you put a big loss like this in the rear view and focus on game 3?
Punked is crazy, but I mean, just look at the film, see what we can gain from it. We know what we struggled at, and come out and just try to match their physicality.
Not much you can look at the film of last night. So, Game 3 will be back in Minneapolis at Target Center tomorrow night, 8:30 on Amazon Prime. Now, with this series tied at a game apiece, we know there'll be a 5th game back in San Antonio next week. So, Friday and Sunday at Target Center to see where things will go in this series. Also last night, the Knicks beat Philadelphia, so now New York is up 2-0. I can tell you the level of optimism back home is through the roof that the Knicks may actually have a chance to go to the NBA Finals, a place they haven't been since 1999. They haven't won an NBA championship since 1973, so there's extreme levels of excitement there. The other 2 series will play tonight. Detroit and Cleveland will play Game 2, and the Thunder will have yet to lose in this postseason, much like the Avalanche in hockey will play the Lakers later tonight at 8:30. In the NHL last night, you saw just the Sabres open up with their victory over Montreal to start that series, and the Ducks evened up their series with the Vegas winning 3-1. Actually, Anaheim had not had a shutout in over 2 years, and the Golden Knights scored with 10 seconds left to prevent a shutout there. So that series at a game apiece. Remember, the Wild and Colorado do not play again till Saturday. Off yesterday, off again today, off again tomorrow before Game 3 in St. Paul on Saturday night. So there's your playoff update from last night. There's plenty to, I'm sure, dissect today. Finch put it perfectly. They got punked. They were just totally outclassed in every way imaginable. It seemed like they were completely content that they got the one, and we'll take our chances to see what happens back in Minneapolis. Ayo Dosunmu did play last night. He didn't look great, only played 10 minutes, and then once the game got to where it did, where it was 25, 30, 35-point lead, Finch pulled his main guys. They didn't play the rest of them. I mean, if Joe Ingles is getting 10 minutes in a postseason game, it's either the Wolves are rolling or they got boat raced. And that's exactly what happened last night. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, played 14 minutes. Beranger played. Jalen Clark got 15 minutes. Ant is again still under the minutes restriction, and he played 24. And 1 of 5 from 3. He turned it over 4 times. It was the opposite of what we saw with Anthony Edwards in Game 1 and how he performed. So now, I don't know if it's a series, but it's certainly the Wolves are in it, knowing that's the Spurs team I think we all expected to see on Monday. With Wemby flying around, De'Aaron Fox making shots, Stephon Castle going to the bat. That's how they won, as I mentioned, 62 games in the regular season. It became the chief threat to Oklahoma City to repeat as champions this year. So Finch said it perfectly. I love the guy. We got punked, and they absolutely did. Even though Ant Edwards disagrees, that's probably the best way to describe what exactly went down in San Antonio last night. We have a packed show coming up for you here. We got a lot going on this Thursday, this first Thursday in May. Kevin Feeney is joining us today, the head coach of the Moorhead Spuds. Yeah, we're talking football in early May. I know you spring sports fans out there roll your eyes. Oh, Izzo, always talking football. Well, it's on the brain. We mentioned earlier this week, Moorhead put out its 2026 football schedule. Kevin told me it's the best schedule the Spuds have ever had. There you have it. Why not chat about it, knowing the fact that Minnetonka, that Eden Prairie, and Edina are all coming to Jim Goda Stadium this year. We'll chat with Kev about that, and also about the very active spring for 3 of his superstars, including his son, that have all verbally committed to play football at the University of Minnesota. Sam Goetzinger will be with us at 10 o'clock. We'll get Sam's thoughts on, he's calling some baseball tonight. We've got Kindred Central Cast coming up here on Extra later tonight. 3 weeks from today is the busiest day on the North Dakota sports calendar, where 6 different state tournaments are going at the same time. We'll be in Jamestown and Minot and Bismarck, covering soccer, baseball, and softball. We'll get you ready for that coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, excited to have Justin Sell join us, South Dakota State Athletic Director. It's been a little bit since we've had Justin on the show. We did not have a chance to connect when we were down in Sioux Falls at the Summit League basketball tournament. Earlier this week, the Jackrabbits finalized their football schedule for 2026, which includes the Stetson Hatters out of the Pioneer Football League. Last year, Stetson was ranked as the worst team in the Sagarin ratings. And I'm not throwing shade on that. I will give them actually credit that they didn't schedule a Division II team, because I took a heck of a lot of flack from the 605 a couple years ago when I said, what is SDSU doing scheduling Augustana? That's not going to help you come playoff time. And what ended up happening? It hurt them. They thought they should have been seated over the Bison. The Bison got the 2. The Jacks got the 3. The rest is history. Now we know that the playoff committee is going to say, if you're going to schedule non-D1s, it's going to hurt you. We will certainly take that into account when seeding. So at least they got 12 Division I teams. We'll also chat on what he sees going on in Fargo. Obviously, he said it to me many a time that he wanted SDSU and NDSU to be tethered together. That is not the case starting in July. What happens with the Jacks going forward? We'll discuss that with Justin coming up before we say goodbye here at about 10:35. So a lot to get to today. We'll take our first break. We come back. Imagine waiting by the phone for a call you're longing for. That's what Matt Larson, Tim Polasek are doing today. because the FBS Oversight Committee is voting on playoff eligibility. That's coming up. Hot Mic returns after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, we've got Region 1 baseball coming up tonight. Beautiful night in Kindred. Central Cass and the Vikings, the old Region 1 rival, set to go. First pitch doubleheader at 5 o'clock. Those are the top two teams in Region 1. Only one can make the state tournament in Jamestown 3 weeks from today. This could be a preview of the region championship. We had Scott Milbrand on earlier this week. You'll catch it tonight on WDAY Extra, also streaming on WDAY Plus. Also, 3 weeks from today, we will have the first television football announcements for the upcoming college season. It comes out right after Memorial Day. No change of that this year. But we're going to start getting the drips of it over the next few weeks. The NFL schedule we expect to come out either next week or the following, which will really be a total drip on that because the NFL wants us to talk about it, and we will because it's the NFL. Notre Dame has put out its home football schedule for times. We already know the games are on NBC for Notre Dame. The Wisconsin game, which is at Lambeau Field, will be played at 6:30 at night on September the 6th. That's a Sunday, don't forget, right before Labor Day weekend. So there's going to be two Sunday night games on this year for the first time on Labor Day because ABC has one, NBC will have one as well. They'll have Miami at home. That's in early November. That'll be chilly. November the 7th, 6:30, and then SMU on November the 21st at 6:30. So now NDSU is going to be part of this when they release their the Mountain West, that is, with its national television partners coming up in just a few weeks. Speaking of the Bison, we mentioned it as we went to break. Today's a big day for their immediate football future. Today, the FBS Oversight Committee is holding a video teleconference, I would assume it's a Zoom, with its members to consider a proposal that was brought forth in late March to allow North Dakota State and Sacramento State, the transitioning FCS teams, to be immediately eligible for bowl games and conference championship games and the college football playoff this fall. The chair of that committee is Mark Allnut, who is the athletic director at the University of Buffalo, which is a MAC school. So he has some stake in this, considering Sacramento State would be eligible for bowl games and the conference championship in his league. From what I have gathered reporting on this over the last couple of weeks, that the tea leaves look positive, but again, it's not until the vote is taken. It is a simple majority vote. Among each of the conferences are represented by different members on the committee. And NDSU's got some friends in the room. That includes former athletic director and Kansas State athletic director Gene Taylor, who's in the room. Craig Bohl is in the room as the head of the American Football Coaches Association. He's a non-voting member, but from what I have been told, has quite the say over what the committee ends up doing, as you saw earlier this week where the AFCA put out its support of going behind a 24-team playoff and having the season end. We just talked about it yesterday, by the second week in January, which seems aggressive, but that's what he is in charge of in terms of basically whipping votes for to get this. We know Bohl has been working behind the scenes as well to get NDSU into the Mountain West Conference. Here are the other members. Clark Lee is there, who's the head coach at Vanderbilt. Let's see some other. Keith Gill is there. He's the commissioner of the Sun Belt. Let's see if some other familiar names. Brett Bielema is part of this group, the head coach at Illinois. He and Bohl are tight. I think they're on board with this vote as well. And we mentioned Alden, who's the commissioner of the MAC, is there. I was told there is one league that is not in favor. I think we can probably put two and two together. It's likely the Southeastern Conference on this because I don't think they wanted to see any more teams transition up, but they don't have the votes from what I was told on this. Now, if this goes through, and the conference call is supposed to begin at 10:30 Central Time, so I don't know if we'll have a result by the time we sign off, but something we're certainly following here this morning. This would mean NDSU would then be eligible for a bowl game if they reach 6 Division I wins, and considering they don't play any Division II teams on the schedule, if they are able, and they only have the one FCS game, you get 6 wins, you're eligible for a bowl game. If they win enough, they could be eligible for the Mountain West Conference Championship game, and then if you're in that conversation, then you're eligible for the college football playoff. Now, I'm not even going to go down that road. I'm going to stick to the fact that if they win 6, they're playing in a bowl game, which originally, when we found out this was happening back in February, that NDSU was going to be ineligible for postseason play for 2026 and 2027. That was the old rules that James Madison dealt with Jacksonville State dealt with Coastal Carolina dealt with. They all appealed and all were denied to be eligible for bowl games. If you're asking me, well, wait a minute, why was Missouri State and Delaware playing in bowl games last year? I would tell you there weren't enough teams to fill out the 82 bowl slots, and so then they went to Mo State and Delaware, and they filled those spots, which would have happened with NDSU had this not been proposed. And from what, again, I was told on this, the Oversight Committee wouldn't have released this. It wouldn't have gotten this far if they don't think it's not necessarily a rubber stamp to make happen. It has one last approval that goes to the Division I Cabinet in June, but if it gets the approval here from the Oversight Committee and their members, then it's a foregone conclusion that this is going to be allowed. And I think if you saw anything yesterday, we talked about Brett McMurphy's story. Him already has NDSU pegged for the college football playoff, and he was on with us a couple weeks ago to tell us that what he's being told this is going to happen. CBS Sports has a different bowl projection out today that has NDSU pegged for the Armed Forces Bowl, which is in Fort Worth, Texas, just outside of Dallas. That sound appealing, Bison fans? I think you've known that, to play James Madison. I mean, come on. Tell me that that's not better than what the playoff experience was against Illinois State. Taking away how the game went with the 9,000 that were in attendance, there's just a different vibe around it. So that's the up-to-date there on what's happening with the Oversight Committee. That's not the only thing going on today where we're literally waiting by the phone for a potential vote. The other is a story that I don't think as many are as excited about, and that's the NCAA basketball tournament. ESPN reported early this morning that the separate committees are voting today to sign off on expanding the men's and women's basketball tournaments to 76 teams. Pete Thamel reports the NCAA committee calls scheduled for Thursday loom as expected final steps for the formalization of the expansion, sources said. The expansion process could be completed as early as today. We talked about it last week on the show, that this would expand the field from 68 to 76 teams, which would make Tuesday and Wednesday look a heck of a lot different next year. Is expand to 12 games played by 24 teams at 2 different sites, thanks to the 8 additional at-large bids. And it involves the 16 seeds all there. Half of the 15 seeds be going into this Tuesday and Wednesday shenanigans. One of the sites expected to stay is Dayton. The other will move likely either to the Central or Pacific time zones so they can stagger it for television. That's a big part of this as well, that you could have probably games starting at the middle of the day on Tuesday, 2 or 3 o'clock, and then play all the way to like 9 o'clock. And I don't know if that takes away the allure of Thursday. That opening day when there's games going at 11 a.m. and then going all the way to 11:30, that takes away. To me, it does. And I mentioned this before. We talked about it last week. The expansion of this also means for those that, and I don't fill out brackets anymore, but for those that do, you have to wait now till, Thursday morning to do it? Because there are games being played on Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you wanted to go and submit on Monday when Selection Sunday happens, you can't do that because you don't know who's playing. Because you have 16 seeds playing 16 seeds, but you're going to have others like 11 and 12 seeds playing. Those are virtual toss-up games. Is that a big deal enough for people to be up in arms about? We'll find out. Again, the money on this is not what we had initially thought. That it was going to be some financial windfall for the NCAA from the networks on it. That is not going to be the case for next year. I imagine True TV gets some more games. Maybe TBS gets a handful. I don't think you're seeing CBS get any of these games. But according to ESPN, that as well could be resolved today. So I know people are sick of committees and votes and all that, but this is part of the minutia of how things work. So we're waiting by the phone as well to see when the bat phone goes off for the Bison being postseason eligible and the NCAA basketball tournament expanding to 76 teams. One note on that, and we'll ask Justin Sell about it too coming up in our second hour. I don't believe this helps the Summit League at all. I know Tom Wistersill, the commissioner of the Big Sky, feels differently about that because there's opportunities now for mid-majors to get NCAA tournament units with wins, potentially, but this isn't going to be a second Summit League team getting in. That's never going to happen on the men's side. On the women's side, it would have affected. NDSU would have made it had this been in place for 2026. We'll get Justin's thoughts on that later on in the show. Let's break. We come back. We'll chat some high school ball. Kevin Feeney will join us on the Spuds 2026 schedule and the best of the best coming to Jim Goda Stadium this fall. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Hot mic off and rolling here on this Thursday morning. It's my new favorite logo that for our next guest, if he can make happen this fall, he'll be my favorite. If he can get Spuddy with the football on the side of the Moorhead football helmets. I know he's got other fish to fry, but we always talk uniforms with Kevin Feeney, who joins us here this morning. First, great to see it. Last night over in Moorhead, they had a big reception over at the Operations Center to honor Larry Knutson, who, of course, announced his retirement a few weeks ago. You've been over in Moorhead now, I can't believe I'm saying this, 15 years. Give us a great Larry story that you have off the top of your head.
Oh, boy. Yeah, one story? That's a good question. Now, you know what? I think the biggest thing when I think Larry wears a lot of hats, right? I mean, over here he does all the sports, but he's also, you know, he's a guy who always understood time and a place, right? I mean, whether he was on our bus after a big win or after a tough loss, like he always kind of had the right thing to say, right? I mean, it was always, he knew when to stay silent and he knew when to speak up. I just think it's going to be odd. I told him last night, man, I joked with him. I said, hey, even though you're not going to have the microphone on to talk, I can probably give you a headset, but no offense, I ain't going to let you be able to talk on it because I'm sure you've in your mind had a lot of suggestions for my play calling for years. But no, it's going to be odd, man. It's going to be odd not having him at that pregame meeting, right? I mean, just find out what the teams are like, and it's that comforting feeling that you have as a coach. It's going to be different.
Well, I went over it started at 4:30 yesterday. I was telling you this off the air. I got there about 4:45 and was already out the door. The reception line, which I should have expected. And you had a who's who of people. I mean, Dan Kostic was back. I saw Jim Capitan, former girls basketball coach. And you expect nothing less that was going to be the case yesterday in Moorhead for him.
Yeah, you know what, 5,000 games?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they announced he's the only person in the Minnesota High School Football Hall of Fame and the Minnesota Basketball Hall of Fame. The only guy to do that. I mean, like, he's in like 6 Hall of Fames. So.
Yes.
But it's insane. Good for him.
Yes, absolutely. And he got to call the Spuds playing in the football state championship and the hockey state championship for his last year. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, not a bad way to go out, huh?
That's all right. We have not talked to you since a very lively spring where 3 of your headline football players, including your son, have verbally committed to play football at the University of Minnesota. Give us what this was like. You've done this before, but all of the same school, Kevin, hasn't happened before. What was your perspective on all of it?
Yeah, you know what? I think the neatest part about that whole deal is obviously Minnesota was in on these guys after their freshman season. That's kind of when it all started. And so, through the process, the ups and downs and the highs and the lows and, hey, this is where you want to go. Nah, this school's not interested. It's just a roller coaster of emotion, I think, for our players. But I think the neatest part of the whole deal is they all had their own path. They all had their own plan. But fortunately, it all led to the same place, and I think it's odd that that it worked out that way. But super excited for each one of them, and I think they have some pretty big plans for themselves. I mean, each one of them have some very driven goals that they want to achieve, and opportunity to play at the highest level. I know was a big thing for them, and Elenius Davis was back right around spring break, and we took him out for dinner, and I had all those guys with us, and it was fun to just sit and talk. Okay, like recruiting stuff is over, right? I always joke because everybody being really, really nice to you all the time, that's gonna end, right? It's reality. And I was like, Elenius, start giving these guys some reality on what it's gonna be like getting into that level of football. But the banter back and forth was really, really good. It already started the chat that Elenius was going to make sure he gets a good hat on Jet before he gets done playing at Washington. But I think the other cool part for me then it turned into like the little kid thing where it was like, hey, tell me what it's like playing at the big house, the Horseshoe, Penn State. And, shoot, Don, they're talking about things like that are on my bucket list to go to as far as events. And Elenius is talking like giving you details about the Rose Bowl. It's wild to hear that kind of stuff.
So Jet was the last one, Kevin, of the three to commit. What was the take coach hat off and dad hat on? Tell me about what that was like when he came to you and Jamie and said, okay, it's going to be Minnesota.
Yeah, I think in the back of his mind, he was more than ready a little bit before, but he kind of wanted to let things play out and just kind of, I would say, let the decision really, really sit where he knew it was the right decision. And the handful of times it seemed like it was getting more often and more often he was getting up, getting down on campus and with the team and spending a little bit of time in the quarterback room and getting to know those guys. And I think he just kind of felt more and more comfortable with the situation. And and all the coaches, right? I mean, it's one of those, like, your position coach and your strength staff are probably the two guys you spend the most amount of time with. And then, obviously Coach Fleck is such a dynamic person. And I think the more and more he was around it, I think the more comfortable he felt with the decision. And he told us about a week and a half before that it was kind of like that was where he wanted to go. And it was fun to be a part of it. It was funny to watch Jet do it his way, right? Because Jet's not a man of many words, but he's kind of learned through the process. And Coach Fleck a couple times was like, geez, Jet, I didn't know you were this chatty. But it's part of growing up, I guess.
Yeah. So he came out of his shell, you think, a little bit throughout this whole process?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. I think you kind of learned that you got to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think there's this kind of odd thing. I was telling Trey about it one day. I go, Jet's got this kind of odd confidence to him where he feels like he belongs and he knows he can play, and he's kind of in one of those deals where he's going to make sure he's going to prove it every single day to every person that's watching. Because, hey, in this world of college football and athletics at that level, hey, everybody's really good.
Yep.
I mean, and you have to have a little bit of swagger to you. And I think, I kind of joked sometimes with David and Jet. Sometimes they towed that line where I was like, I don't know how comfortable I was with some of the stuff that they were doing. But on the same token, you can't take that kind of dog out of them because that's what makes them special. So
now you've done the whole thing. So how different was this recruiting than opposed? Trey obviously was a different time as well because COVID was going on. But how, for you as dad, how different was this for you to take in as opposed to what you did with Trey?
It's different. I mean, everything is just sped up. Like I don't care who we're talking to. I don't even know if. I think a lot of it has to do with the 105. I think everybody's still kind of trying to figure out the 105. And I think, at the beginning of this process for a lot of our guys, they thought they would get to June or maybe even July, and shoot, by February, it was kind of like, hey, we need to know. We need to know. And then you start looking at, you're saying, okay, how many guys are they going to bring in the high school world at your position group? And, obviously at the quarterback position, it's such a such a small window there that, you don't want to miss out on an opportunity. And timelines don't match across even just Division I football. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are on a little bit different time frame than even the Big 12. And I don't know who's to say which ones are right. I don't know if they know that, but it is different, and each position is different. And so like Zach Walker right now is kind of in the heart of it right now to try to figure out his path. And I think, if when I was talking to him, he was like, Coach, I want to make a decision by July. I'm like, you might be making it in the next week, man, from what I'm being told. So, but it's fun, man. It's fun. It's been a busy winter, but it's been a lot of fun, and unheard of that we would ever have this many guys with that kind of eyes on them. And so it's a special time.
Well, and the thing, and you can expound on this a little bit, and I want to talk some scheduling stuff, that if you're not ready, they'll say, okay, we're moving on, right? I'm sure you heard that. I'm sure Jet was told that, right?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And you know what? I mean, you would hope and trust that the places who are genuine, that they're going to give a kid a little bit of time to really answer questions and see it. But hey, on the same token, you got to understand that they've evaluated all these guys and they're down to one spot. I mean, there's only so many, like for Jet specifically, there's only so many Power 4 schools, and they're going to sign one or maybe two guys. Yep. And it's got to be the right fit, both schematically, but also the room. And I think that was the big thing. I think Jet felt really good about the room. And as the more he got to spend time with Coach Harbaugh, and then Coach O'Hara is in there, and now Coach Shula is in there, I just keep laughing. I'm like, they got a lot of guys. These staffs have grown tremendously. And so you want to make sure you're in the right room, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I think he felt really good about it, and so did David, and so did Tay. And I think Zach's figuring out right now.
All right, so on the field now, we can look ahead to 2027, and this is the fun part. Like, the NFL schedule's coming out next week. We already know the opponents, much like you already knew who you're playing, but now you have the date set to it. Take us through this now, because I say it, I think you'd agree. This is the best home schedule Moorhead football's ever had, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I laugh because, like you said, we've known the opponents, and we're kind of just finalizing maybe one date because the STMA game is on the teacher break. Yes. And so that was odd. And then the Rogers was trying to decide if we were going to play Thursday or Friday. And but anyways, what I'm getting at is we put it out, and then all of a sudden it kind of just blew up, right? And I'm like, holy smokes, I wish I could put this away for a little bit, because I've actually been getting a little bit better sleep the last couple weeks because Jets recruiting's all done and all that kind of stuff. And now this kind of blows up, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's time. But no, it's super challenging schedule. It's awesome to have these great opponents coming to Moorhead. And like I said, it doesn't change kind of the mindset that we already had. It's one of those where we know we're going to have to play really good football to have an opportunity to win each Friday. But that's what makes the preparation this winter and the spring and the summer. It's not hard to get kids to understand the intensity needed and the focus needed for these workouts.
Do you see as a potential? There's already a rivalry with Edina, what happened last year, but that being the last game, is that going to continue going forward?
Yeah, you know what? It's happening in all our sports right now, right? I mean, it's baseball just played them here not too long ago. Obviously, the hockey has had a good rivalry going with them for the past few years. But yeah, obviously football, it's going to be special. Yeah. I mean, that's week 8 though, Dom.
Yeah, I know.
As a football coach,
I know.
There's a lot of things that are going to happen before we ever get to that week. But it's not hard to focus on week 1 when. We played Rogers, and that's the team that knows us the best. Yes. And that's the team that we've had a rivalry going with for a number of years. And then you get into week 2, and it's Woodbury. And obviously, the travel that Woodbury is going to have to come here. And finally, but hey, Andy thinks, and Andy's a really good football coach at Woodbury. He's been doing it for a long time, and he feels like they've got a really, really good football team. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, then hey, then welcome to the Lakes Conference, and Minnetonka's coming to town. So like, I would argue that Minnetonka feels like they're going to have as good of, not better, football team than they had last year, and so and they were one of the best football teams we saw all last year too. So it doesn't matter, Dom. Each week is going to be a gauntlet, and we've got to find a way to compete and find a way to stay healthy and get to the end.
Speaking about Minnetonka, we had two of their studs on this last month. They both their quarterbacks going to UND, Caden Gutzmer, one of their best wideouts and defensive backs, and Cody Braun's going to NDSU. I asked them both, Kev, about the Spuds game last year and about coming. They said they couldn't wait. We've never been on a bus that long, but we can't wait to come and play Moorhead. What's that mean to you, hearing that from them, that they're excited to come to Jim Goetzinger Stadium?
Well, I think the biggest difference from a year ago to now is we were definitely the hunters last year, and now we're the hunted. And there's no doubt about that. We're not going to surprise anybody. We're not going to, I think everybody's going to take us pretty serious from here on out. But Caden specifically, in the recruiting world, you get to know guys, right? I mean, Jet's been at camps with him. He's been on visits with him. He's been in quarterback meetings with him. He's an unbelievable kid, a great quarterback, great family. I was super excited for him to get an opportunity to play at the University of North Dakota. And there's no doubt that a lot of people are circling different games on their schedule, but like I said, I think the mindset has completely shifted for our football team on what needs to happen for us to be successful, because, I'm not taking anything away from the regular season, but as we were going deeper into the playoffs, the sense of urgency on our opponents was changing, and the schematic differences that they were doing to us versus others was different. And so they're going to have a lot more data on us, but like I would like to say, we understand their DNA is a little bit better than what we did this last year too.
Well, and last thing on this, like Mike Grant is coming, Eden Prairie. There's a legend that is going to be up in Moorhead. That's reason enough. Granted, their team is going to be good, that Mike Grant's going to be on the other sideline next fall.
Yeah, we were joking with our Brian Meyer, who does our PA announcing. He does a lot of trivia questions, and let's just say Brian's witty enough where I think there's going to be a lot of Bud Grant maybe trivia going on for that football game. But no, you know what? And people are asking me about Coach Grant. I've gotten to know him a little bit. We've talked a couple of times, and obviously being from afar and listening to him speak and looking at the teams and the players that he's had and coached throughout his coaching life has been unbelievable. And so he's very aware of this area, obviously. I mean, as far as he's brought some teams up here for some 7-on-7 stuff before, but I was joking with him. I'm like, Coach, you might need to stay overnight, maybe before and after, and trying to create all this other stuff for them to think about. But, they've got a great football team coming back, and I want to say they have a 2029 kid that might be a top 25 kid in the country. And so, Spud fans will get to see some of the best here at Jim Goetzinger Field.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. It's early May. We still got a long way to go. Enjoy your summer. I know we'll chat before then, but enjoy some time off. I know it's been a crazy stretch. Thanks for doing this, and we'll have you back in studio soon, okay?
Hey, sounds great, man. You too. Have a great summer.
There goes Kevin Feeney, head coach of the Moorhead Spuds. Yeah, the football schedule, we had it on the show earlier this week, and then you see it up there, and it's like, holy cow. Edina, Eden Prairie, Minnetonka in the flesh. And that's not this, discount Woodbury as well, because the Spuds went to Woodbury twice last year, which is 4.5 hours one way. And then they're going to Maple Grove. They're going to Wayzata. SDMA, Jared Essler's head coach there. They're always good. This is, we talk about the Bison FBS thing. It's the same thing with the Spuds going to 6A. This is what it's going to be every year. And it's fantastic. I mean, sign me up. I hope we can do as many games as possible on Extra this year, because those games that are coming here are going to be dynamite. All right, we're overdue for a break. We'll get caught up here, wrap up our first hour. Sam Goetzinger coming up in hour 2. Justin Sell as well, South Dakota State Athletic Director, on deck in our second hour. We're back on Hot Mic right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Thanks to Kevin Feeney for giving us a few minutes there. Good stuff. Moorhead's going to be fun to watch again. You thought 2025 was fun. Wait till you get a load of what could happen in 26. Let's get a couple emails in here before we wrap up the first hour. Comes in. Dom, refresh my memory. What was the Bison fan opinion when James Madison was squawking about the unfairness of the eligibility rule? That's a good question. Now, that's 3 full years ago when JMU was making that run in 2023. Gosh, it's hard to remember last year, let alone 2023. I'm sure some were telling him, hey, that's the deal for moving up. I'm pretty sure I said that, but now, and fair enough, but this is a completely different, basically, rule that they want to allow. And Matt Larson talked about this on the day of the press conference with the Mountain West, that they believe that was an outdated rule. I wouldn't disagree with that when they appealed to be eligible for it. I'm not just saying that now as Johnny-come-lately saying, well, NDSU's moving up, let's make him eligible right away. Well, a lot of things are antiquated with the NCAA and its rules, that one being one of them. But I'm positive that I'm sure Bison fans were telling JMU to stuff it. Hey, this is the price you pay for moving up, that you can't be eligible. And obviously we've seen that worked out. James Madison was in the college football playoff a year ago. What's worse, Dom, the college football playoff at 24 or the NCAA basketball tournament at 76? With hands down, the basketball tournament going to 76. Football, we haven't experienced it yet. This whole notion that the regular season is going to be worthless, I find preposterous. Because college football's regular season has always been great. The postseason has been the one that's been bleeped up for the better part of 50 years. Now, do I like going from 12 to 24? That seems a bit drastic, but powers that be seem like that's going to happen. But I made it plain. NCAA tournament is perfect of what it was. No one has wanted this. Outside of 3 conference commissioners have been pushing this down the NCAA's throat. Now the new NCAA president, Charlie Baker, wants it. And if he wants it, it's going to happen. So to me, it's not even close. It's the NCAA basketball tournament that is worse at 76. Again, does that mean I'm not going to watch it when those games come on Tuesday and Wednesday next March? No, but I don't have to like it. With a lot of things. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Sam Goetzinger will join us. Chat some golf, baseball, whatever else will tickle our fancy. That's coming up. We start hour 2 right after this.
This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Let's take a moment and talk about bunions. The original line read as this: bunions. You may have heard of them. That was my original line.
Hey, thank you, Dom. Johnny Cool Guys there with the sunglasses on.
That was off the dome to
the west of
when
Illinois.
I'm looking on it, like my west. I shouldn't say right and left. Is that Missouri?
That is Missouri.
Yes.
That is
it's underneath
Missouri.
Iowa. Oh, I'm getting good at this.
He's coming.
So we're going to like the bottom peninsula region.
Peninsula?
Okay, we're going to come back on the ETSU tailgate and then go to you. How am I going to go from a tailgate to bunions?
Okay, good deal.
Let's take a moment and talk about bunions.
That is the eternal question as we welcome on our guy, Sam Goetzinger, who joins us each and every Thursday at 10 o'clock. What's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. We've got a beautiful day out. You're getting ready for some ball. We'll chat about that coming up later on as we're just a couple weeks out for, again, the end of the spring sports season in North Dakota with state track is 2 weeks from today, and then everybody else is into the pool 3 weeks from today, and then we're done.
It's crazy.
You know?
I feel like we haven't had any games that we've been able to play until right now. So I'm glad we get the chance to play some ball tonight. And, state tournament's right around the corner. So just hoping for good weather the rest of the way.
That leads to my first point, talking what the Bison golf team did. We had Gabe Benson on yesterday, Fargo kid, who's a senior on the Bison golf team who played at Concordia, who told me yesterday, and this confirmed what I suspected, that they had not played a single round of golf here locally this entire spring.
That's crazy.
So how impressive is it what they just went and did and won the Summit League tournament?
To handle all of that travel throughout the season, and a lot of courses I'm sure you're not used to until you show up on site and then get the lay of the land for a day or two before. And, it's super impressive. It's not like they're going out to the Fargo Country Club or some other place around
going to Edgewood. They're not going anywhere.
They're used to playing multiple times, and they have the course knowledge, so that makes it even better. Now they get to go back to Arizona, so they're used to the weather. Lucky them.
So
but, it's really impressive they got the job
Have
done.
you been in the indoor when they've actually hit?
I've just for a little bit. Like once they're wrapping up practice, and it's like that transition period from golf, and then they're getting ready for football. I've seen that. So what Gabe was mentioning yesterday when he was talking about the nets being down, like I've seen that, and it's like tightly wound netting so the ball doesn't just sail through and
shatter
hit
a window,
something.
right?
But that's crazy to me because you see the punters in there for North Dakota State football. They're booming it off of the ceiling, and a golf ball can easily do the same. But it's a really neat thing what they're able to do there. And he talked about having the simulator and whatnot, and the putting surface in that facility. Now they're going up against teams that have essentially full golf courses indoors.
Right.
So it's a very different practice playing field here against teams they're going to go up against.
Here are the teams in their regional. Now they have to finish in the top 5 to advance to the national tournament, which comes up at the end of the month. Oklahoma State is the 1 seed. They're the reigning national champions.
Super good
in men's golf. A little school you may have heard of, LSU.
Not bad. Not bad.
Arizona, who's the host. This course is outside of Tucson where they're going. Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama. All the SEC schools are really good.
Duke, Clemson, San Diego State. Those are the top 7 seeds. The Bison are the 13 seed in there with Tarleton State, our friends out of Texas. Iona, which is outside of New York City, they made it there. But that's it. I think it's very akin to the Bison men's basketball team making the NCAA tournament there.
Right.
Hey, you made it.
Right.
Anything after that is gravy. I think it's the same thing here. If they're somehow able to get into the top 5 of this, they'll have golfed their brains out.
I will say there may be a little bit better possibility just because the game of golf is interesting like that compared to basketball. All it takes is just a couple of guys to have some really good days, and then before you know it, you're right in the mix. And so I'm not saying there's not a possibility that they can do it, but it is going to be tough.
So Gabe mentioned yesterday as well that Rylan Petrie had his entire traveling entourage. You lived that out when we were covering the Bell Bank Amateur last year, that they followed him all 3 days out of Moorhead Country Club.
Just tons
it's like
of people.
50 people.
Well, and we talked about them not being at home. So all these plane tickets, all these travel, and then watching Rylan. Props to him, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good for him mentally to get used to playing in front of a gallery, too, I assume. And it's not like he's disappointed all the people that have been following him. He's been really impressive throughout the last couple of years.
The neat part last summer, for those that missed it, he shoots the course record at Moorhead Country Club, comes back, wins the tournament the next day, and then he was getting married the following weekend. It was just an unbelievable couple of weeks.
Just a crazy week there, and then of course followed that up with this season, and now winning the Summit League. This has been quite the ride for him, coming out of Fertile and that little 9-hole course over there. Now to see what he's doing, it's really impressive.
He's first team Summit League selection. Chris Howell Goose was here yesterday. Say he's back. He's going to be playing at MCC coming up at the end of June. Gabe Benson's going to be there. There's going to be all these guys that are going to be playing in the NCAA tournament in a couple weeks will be likely on our cameras coming up at the end of June, which is pretty cool.
I think all the Scarp-Rood guys that are playing college golf right now are going to be there. That Red River Am is going to be pretty impressive this season.
On the women's side as well, where St. Thomas has won it each of the last 2 years. A St. Thomas golfer has won it. They're going to be back as well. The defending champ, Catherine Van Aragon, is going to be back. So it's going to... it's a little self-promotion here. I don't care. It's our show. Absolutely. It's our network. But it's going to be pretty good stuff there coming up.
And those women were shooting some low numbers last year, too. Yeah, granted, the conditions were ripe, as Goose mentioned yesterday. Yeah. They were good for scoring, but those women did not disappoint. Yeah. It was some really good golf last year.
I'll throw you what I asked Goose as well. The PGA Championship is next week. Are you a fan of it being in May, or you like to go back to when it was in August, right before football season started?
I wouldn't mind August. I wouldn't mind having that, kind of crown jewel, if you will, late, towards the
because the
end
FedEx
of the
Cup
season.
Is now what they say. And I don't know if anybody pays attention because anybody knows how it works.
Right, exactly. That's why I kind of like that being a little bit later, so it feels like you're playing up to something as opposed to it being right here.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents on it. But to go back on what you guys were saying the other day, PGA is in one heck of a spot right now. And now with Scotty joining the 3M, this is quite the time to be a golf fan. There's no doubt.
Some breaking football scheduling news here. I know we're waiting on this. Syracuse and Wake Forest have just announced They will play at BMO Field in Toronto on Saturday, August 28th or Sunday, August the 29th of 2027. They say week 0, but that's going to be week 1.
Interesting.
But that's more and more collegiate games being taken out of the United States and being played.
Was it in Dublin
overseas.
last year, right?
There's going to be another game in Dublin. Belichick's team's playing over there to start this year.
So what do they got to do? Rip out the goalposts and move them back and adjust the field and everything? Well, that'll be interesting.
I think a college game in Brazil. I want to say Virginia Tech is playing. Don't quote me. I'm almost positive. And now we got another one going.
When are the Bison going to go international?
Well, see,
go to
that's
Winnipeg.
the next. So after this game next year, right? The Vegas game with Montana State. I've joked with Matt Larson, like, okay, this is when's exactly what you said to me. I said to him, like, okay, what would be? And I think Ireland would be a heck of a lot of fun. Something like
awesome.
that.
That would be
right?
super cool.
But here's the thing, and this goes back. Kolpak wrote about it today on a Bison football topic that already the tailgate spots are already sold out. There's way more season tickets sold. There's only less than 1,000. There is renewed excitement about Bison football that has not been there over the last 5 to 6 years.
Exactly what the fan base needed. Just
a jolt
to get back in, because we talked about it, that social experiment. People lose interest when you have success at one level for so long. So to go prove it with the big boys, that's going to spark interest into a bigger into the rest of the fan base and go back to what it was however many years ago.
I'm going to tell you right now, you've not experienced the tailgate lot at the Dome, amped. Maybe once the South Dakota State game 2 years ago for the marker here. It was a scene, man. There were people that didn't have tickets to the game that would just go to tailgate and then go watch it either at home or somewhere else. It was unbelievable.
I'm curious what the parking situation is going to be like. My parents came up to the South Dakota game last year.
So homecoming,
they had to park about a mile and a half away. I'm sure that's going to be like that on a weekly basis.
And homecoming always is like that, but you're exactly right. That's what it used to be. This is before tailgating could open the night before.
Right.
This is way back when. For Bison fans, they'll remember what I'm talking about. That their tailgaters would line up on Albrecht Boulevard, all the way down past the Red Hawks, past Newman Outdoor Field, in their cars overnight. They would get there like 5 o'clock on a Friday because the Dome wouldn't let you park overnight. They do now. And they would sit there all night. I remember going up after the news on a Friday. They were playing Eastern Washington. So Cooper Cup's coming. It's a big bleeping deal, big game. And there are people, they're tailgating, waiting in their cars across Albrecht.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Now, I don't know if we're going to get back to that. Maybe.
Hopefully.
But I think since the Fargo Dome started doing this 2 years ago, where they let people park their rigs there on Friday, I'm really interested to see if that comes to fruition, where it's packed there Friday nights before the games on Saturday.
That would be pretty neat. You really hope so. And as for what the team's going to do this season, that's all up in the air. We'll find out in due time. But it's great to see the added excitement to this program again. And I hope that place is packed. The team deserves it. There's a really good batch of kids that are making this transition up. It's going to be a fun year to watch. If we could do a side-by-side of what the crowd was like for Illinois State and what it's going to be like for Jacksonville State, that will be striking, I think, to see if you put those two There was
images
plenty
side
of
by
bigger
side.
areas in that.
Like I know right now I have a shot already in my mind that I took when we were at the Illinois State game, wide shot of the Dome. And if it is what I think it could be, August 29, it's going to be like before and after, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That'd be pretty awesome. Just packed to the corners. Which, it never seemed to get that, like up all the way to the top, during most of the FCS
Jack's
games.
playoff game.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it depends on the game, but it wasn't a common, wasn't week in and week out type
every
thing.
Every week like that. From 2012 to 2017, it was every
Place is going to be rocking.
Man.
It's going to be rocking.
Did you stay up to watch the Wolves debacle, or did you turn the TV off like I did?
I turned it off about the same time you said you did. Once there was that fast break and the Spurs went behind the back for the dunk, I was like, all right, I'm out of this one. When they went up 33 points, it was like, well, this is a waste. So, I didn't make it through the fourth quarter.
I had an email come in. Actually, my wife asked me this question yesterday, and I thought, this Sam will be a good one to ask because Will Cullen got drafted in the USHL yesterday. Moorhead spot, who's a freshman. And I was trying to explain to her how this works, but you might be able to straight line this better than most because I think the eligibility deal is up on this as well for the 5-for-5 part of this, where if a high schooler goes now, it's either graduation or your 19th birthday. Hockey is caught in the middle here because there are guys that do not go play college hockey right after they graduate high school.
No, absolutely not. You can go to the junior league, and I guess depending on age, and he would fall into the mix here. The U18 national team is a possibility program as well.
Yep.
But so when you see high school players commit to a college, don't expect to see them at that school for maybe 2-3 years, something like that. They're going to go on, most typically, depending on their caliber, they're going to go to the USHL, like the Fargo Force, and they're going to spend 2 or 3 years there, and then they'll go. So they'll be a freshman in their 20s, so it's later in life compared to other college athletes. So it's such a confusing deal. These drafts there's phases to all these drafts, with the NAHL to the USHL, NAHL 3, North American Hockey League 3. There's so many junior leagues.
I don't know what that is.
It's a step below the null, and there's so many different things about it. But yeah, you're not going to see, and it's the same deal for a lot of these players when they come out of college. You're not going to see them in the NHL, most of them, for years. They got to go through essentially the minor league system to get up to the professional ranks as well.
I'm interested how they're going to enforce this 5-for-5 thing now.
Yeah,
without giving an exception to hockey, because then everybody else is going to say, it's going to open itself up for potential lawsuits. Well, wait a minute, if you're doing it for hockey, why aren't you going to do it for?
That's a good point.
Other sports.
That's
on
a good
that.
point. Yeah, how do you police that?
That's a question for Schlossman, which hopefully we're going to get to soon enough on when it comes down the pipe. On that. Let's break. We come back. We'll visit with Sam about the game he's calling tonight. As we mentioned, we're closing in on state tournament season. We got a game tonight you'll see on Extra between two of the best Class B teams. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, we got Region 1 Class B baseball for you coming up tonight here on WDAY Extra. Coverage begins at 5 from Kindred as the Vikings welcome in their friends from Central Cass. Our guy Sam Goetzinger on the call tonight, 5 o'clock here on Extra. You can stream it on WDAY+. Give us a lowdown what we expect here tonight.
It's going to be quite the doubleheader this evening. It's like two teams that are just looking at a mirror at each other. I was looking through the numbers yesterday preparing for this game, and Region 1's always been really impressive at the Class B level, but these two teams are on another level right now in the limited amount of games that they've played this year, like less than 10 for both sides. It's just been that type of spring, but this is going to be a really fun game. Central Cass, like up and down the lineup, is over 500. The pitching staff is sub 2, and that's pretty much exactly the same for Kindred. So it's going to be a lot of fun out there in Kindred. They're playing 7 innings the first game, 5 the second game, and I think it very well could go down to the wire in both of those.
Yeah, these teams, they know each other so well.
Yeah.
We had Scott Milbrand on the show, Kindred baseball coach, on Monday to chat about his team, which has got they're loaded. They got some really good pitchers. Central Cass is always good. There's no mysteries with these two teams are playing here tonight.
Absolutely. And it's like that in every single sport. You mentioned it with Scott when he was on. It's almost weird. I'd add Central Cass now, even though they haven't had the champion success as Kindred has had. But it's almost weird when they're not in the conversation. Right. These two programs outside of town here in Fargo, they have really done numbers over the last couple of seasons. At least since I've been here, they have grown into some real powerhouses.
So that's tonight, 5 o'clock. And it looks like you won't need about 8 layers as well. You'll be all set.
I was surprised by that.
Sun's out, man.
I woke up this morning and I stood outside the window. I was like, what's the temperature going to be today?
That orange orb in the sky, what is that?
Yeah, is that going to do numbers or not? So it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
They got the royal treatment all set for you out there, I'm sure.
Sounds like
so
it.
Roche is going to take care of you.
We had our crew check out the place, and I've heard nothing but glowing responses.
It's a good setup
I've only been to the football field over there, and of course the high school. I haven't been to the baseball field yet.
And depending if you have any wind, you could have like a Newman outdoor field blowing out to right, kind of a crazy game.
One of those deals
like that.
I'll be
so
up for
you
it.
were on the call of softball last week, Bison softball.
Yeah.
And I was texting you last night because the Bison softball team got blitzed by SDSU. Were the Jacks just like sandbagging NDSU? Like what in the world happened?
I was talking to some people at Theraldson Park, and we were trying to go, this was before the Summit League tournament, trying to figure out, okay, who could North Dakota State potentially see in that first round? Really, it was down to South Dakota State and Kansas City. Nothing on Kansas City, no flack on them, but South Dakota State was not a team you want to see in the first round of a tournament because they hit the ball so well. Their pitching and defense throughout the season wasn't their strong suit, but all all you got to do is put that together for one game. And what they did yesterday, they put up 10 runs in the first inning, and that was similar to what they did against North Dakota State in Game 1 of that series wrap up the regular
Bison
season.
came back and won that.
Came back. And you shut them down. That's what they did yesterday, and North Dakota State didn't have a chance. But props South Dakota State for responding, because the last 2 games of that regular season series were not good for them.
SDSU scored 41 runs against South Dakota State last weekend in 3 games. They managed 2 yesterday. It's all like, did SDSU not play its studs last weekend?
They definitely did.
Yeah, I know.
They did, and they hit the ball really well. It was just North Dakota State was hitting the ball even better, which was crazy.
So that's a thud of an ending there for the Bison softball team. Bison baseball may have had their best game of the season last night in beating the Red Hawks.
Get the win over the Red Hawks. Was it 5-rip?
Yes.
How many did they only give up? 1 hit?
Correct.
In total?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So they have Northern Colorado this weekend and then end the season with 4 games at St. Thomas. I don't know if they have to win them all, but they got to win probably 6 out of 7 if they're going to make the Summit League tournament.
I would think so. But they're playing some of their best ball right now, so that's a good sign. I know it's an exhibition game against the Red Hawks, but that's some pretty talented players, and given they haven't played a game yet this season, but to get some of that experience under your belt is good, and you hope for the best, because after last season and how good North Dakota State baseball was, and just to see where it's been throughout the non-conference slate and through some of the conference schedule here, it's been tough sailing for Coach Oaks' squad, and glad to see they're turning it around.
Email comes in. Dom asked the hockey expert if he would have pulled Jesper Wallstedt after Game 1 of the Wild Series when they gave up 9 because Gustafson played.
Told me immediately after Game 1 of that series, and I told you this while we were upstairs after that, and I was like, well, maybe you got to give the guy some rest. But then thinking on it, I forgot that they have 3 days rest after Game 2 to Game 3 on Saturday. I don't think there was any reason to pull Jesper Wallstedt for Game 2.
And then John Hines said that Gustafson played well. I don't think he played well at all on Game 2.
There was a couple of goals that
the first goal was not.
That was definitely.
That
was definitely. I mean, there was some that Colorado put in that those were hard saves, but there was definitely some where should have made that save. There's no doubt. Now you just hope that this decision doesn't alter the series the rest of the way, because Jesper, it's been about a little less than a week now. He'll most likely get to go in Game 3. I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't. And hopefully he can go back to what he was doing against Dallas and shutting the door. But
more importantly, they're without Brodin and they're without Eriksson Ek. Those are their 2 best defensive players. And if you're playing the best team in the league without your 2, you're going to get results like that so far.
Definitely they need Joel Eriksson Ek in there, because their power play right now is atrocious. I think they're 13% on the postseason right now, which is not good. I've not heard the injury update on them. I think Ek is potentially quicker than Brodin.
Brodin ain't coming back.
Yeah, I don't think. To me, that's like comparison to the Wolves. It's like DiVincenzo and then having Jaden McDaniels out. I'd put Joel Eriksson Ek in that conversation. It's tough to beat one of the best teams in recent memory in the NHL with those 2 caliber players out.
All right, so it looks like, according to Awful Announcing, which is my favorite website to quote on the air, that the NFL schedule is going to be out next week. Is that a thing? Do you stop for that?
No.
Is that not a big deal?
Nah. I mean,
because you know who they're playing.
It's the same teams.
But you just don't know when on the schedule you're going to be playing them.
I've never been the biggest, concerned citizen of when a game is.
I'm the opposite. I can't wait.
You and I are on polar opposites when it comes to that.
But because I'm interested on the television side of it, honestly, for our sake on this show, because they're reporting something from CNBC that the games, the old Monday night doubleheaders are gone that ESPN has had over the last handful of years, where one game started at 6:30, another started at 7:30, was trash.
I'm okay with
Nobody
that.
liked that.
Get them out of there.
But it looks like YouTube and Netflix are the leaders to get them. So I'm interested what fan reaction is going to be to that, because the ESPN games were easily available. They're on ESPN and ABC. Yep. These are going to be streaming only for this coming year.
And Netflix numbers aren't that bad, the games that they've had, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they had the Vikings-Lions game on Christmas Day this past year, which the game was a train wreck.
But people are going to watch it because it's the NFL.
But yes, correct. That's exactly the case on it. So I'll be intrigued to see if Netflix gets more, because they've made their sports strategy on big events. Like they have the Home Run Derby coming this year. They've had the Netflix games. They have the Twins game being played in Iowa at the Field of Dreams site. Not necessarily just like these one standoffs that the NFL is going to do, but you're exactly right.
If you look into your crystal ball, does Netflix become a player to less of the bigger events, if you will?
I don't think so. I think Amazon has certainly put its flag in.
Yeah.
I think YouTube wants to do that as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Those are the leaders in the streaming wars in my mind, because YouTube obviously has the Sunday Ticket, which is a huge financial boon there. I mean, it costs 500 bones to do it. I mean, you got to have a deep love of football, or you're gambling on it if you want to do it. But those are the two in my Amazon. You watch tonight. Amazon has the basketball the next 2 nights. They'll have the Wolves game Friday. Their product is fantastic.
Yeah, no,
it's really good.
I think there was that one slip up last series where they had those technical issues.
Where they had the audio was slightly ahead of the video.
Yep.
And it's not been a thing for the NFL, though. That's the thing. My dad is I always go to my dad on the streaming wars, where last year, 2024, had the pinwheel of death. The buffering was a thing. He said that was not a I told him, I think you upgraded your internet connection. that wasn't an Amazon thing. That was a operator error.
Well,
on
that's
that.
the thing too. That boils down to it. I don't want to single anybody out.
Do it. You can single out my dad. Go for it.
An older generation going to all these streaming sites. That's a difficult thing. Like I go to my parents. It's almost impossible for them to figure out what's going on and where something is. It's unless it's on linear. It's good luck having my parents or your parents watch these games.
Has your phone gone off? Do you get have you had an update on the Bison being eligible yet? Have you got any phone calls? Anything yet?
Oh, trust me, I would not be getting any phone calls. And no, I got nothing yet. I got nothing.
Okay, so we're waiting literally for the phone to ring on potential eligibility. Thanks for coming by. Have a great call tonight.
Yeah,
all right, we'll be watching.
Fun. We'll have fun in the sun.
Sam will have coverage of Kindred and Central Cast. See you tonight, 5 o'clock here on WDAY Extra. We'll break. We come back. Friend of the show, South Dakota State Athletic Director Justin Sell joins us on the Jackrabbits 2026, year 2 with Dan Jackson, the Bison going FBS, and a bunch more. That's coming up. We come back. Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a busy Thursday show. Always excited to have our next guest join us to talk everything going on with South Dakota State Athletics. Their athletic director, Justin Sell, joins us on a rather busy, newsy kind of day. I want to hit you right off the hop because it sounds like, first off, thanks for doing this, that we're going to have the NCAA basketball tournaments expand maybe as soon as today. I haven't asked you on the record on this. Give me your thoughts. What do you make of the tournaments going to 76 teams?
Yeah, I don't know that I have super strong feelings. I've not been in the room with all the discussions and the varying points. I just think, from a mid-major AD point of view, making sure that expansion includes additional opportunities for our type of programs. I think we're perilously close to kind of taking that out of this tournament, and I think most people, frankly, at all levels, feel that is a big part of what March Madness is. And when you look at the 12 seeds and up the last couple of years, there aren't as many advancing, certainly not to the Sweet 16. And so I get concerned about just the thing that's made it go for so many years and what's made it special, still trying to foster that. So I don't know that I would probably stay where it's at. But again, some people feel pretty strongly about continuing to expand it.
I know Tom Wistersill, the commissioner of the Big Sky, is on the record, Justin, saying, hey, this could help the mid-majors because now there's the opportunity for the mid-majors to get NCAA tournament units with wins if a 16 is playing a 16, which obviously is financially benefit everybody in the league. Is that enough to warrant adding 8 more? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting. Yeah, there's obviously a positive financial component to it, and that's great. But I think, even as of 4 or 5 years ago, it was if you had that kind of special team, especially one that you had some seniors, you had a chance to knock some people off, and it feels like we're giving up a little bit on the thought process of how do we win games in this thing, and going to a Sweet 16 changes your institution. Totally. And I'm probably more leaning towards having that opportunity than just a more of a participation opportunity to win a 16 versus 16 seeded game.
Great to have Justin Sell joining us here. I have to first commend you. You don't need my commendation, but you got 12 Division I football games. Give us the grind of this, because I know NDSU's been through this before. You've been through it before. But when the edict came down that the FCS playoff committee said, hey, we're going to value you playing 12 Division I schools, how much were you taking that? Like, we got to get a 12th game on the schedule then?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's important. First and foremost, we've got some seniors on this team that stayed with us when we had a coaching change that, just for them, I want to make sure they get to play a full slate of games. And then when you talk about the opportunity to not only make the playoffs, hopefully from a seeding perspective and advancing to kind of help them cap their career, we want to do it off the best resume possible. And we had 2 open games as of last October, got Eastern Illinois to fill it pretty quick in the fall. And then literally the last 6 months, I probably spent the most time on one topic has been football scheduling. Matt Larson and I talked a lot in February when of course NDSU moved to the Mountain West and trying to maybe take some games, help offload some games. How do we work together to fill the schedule? Because they were going through those changes. And then the ripple that had in the Valley schedule as well. So we looked at home and homes. We looked at buying teams in. We looked at going on the road. We looked at going on the road and paying to go on the road for ourselves. Like no guarantee, just to try to get that game. We looked at November 7th. We looked at October 3rd, October 10th. We looked at week 0. The numbers and how many phone calls we made, how many teams we talked to. It was really challenging, really thankful that Stetson was open to the opportunity and gets us a good game before we go play Northwestern in week 1. So, the schedule came together, and I love the 12.
Justin, when you're in that kind of predicament, how perilous is it as an electorate? Like, hey, we want the game, but we're not going to be outrageous in what we spend on getting that game.
Yeah, I think, the good news is, especially I'd say over the last 5 years, and NDSU with what they've been able to pay for guarantees, we obviously were probably very similar in the marketplace because we had to be to get the games. And so we're already at the top of FCS. And I think the schools that we worked with understood the opportunity to come out here. And so, but when you get up against it, you get a little more desperate. People push it a little more. But we ended up very able to stay exactly where we've been in terms of guarantees. I think they're great guarantees, but that ended up not being an issue. But I don't like being up against the gun with that for sure.
With the schedule now being set that week 0 is going to be the new week 1, does that provide any additional windows for you to schedule? Or does that create even more chaos for you to try to find games now?
No, I think it's going to help because I think it'll allow us to look at home and homes a little differently than we have with when you balanced off, 4 years in a row, you're playing 11 and then all of a sudden you get a 12th and then it goes back to 11. Yep. Really hard to balance. We were able to do Montana State through the 12 game years, balance an 11 and a 12. Now we can use that as a scheduling philosophy, which hopefully will help us maybe bring higher caliber teams in, different teams, make it more exciting for our fans. As NDSU's dealt with too, the teams that really want to come play you at your place, it gets a little more difficult to schedule those bigger games. And as FCS people, we need to be able to tackle those. We were willing to do some pretty interesting things this fall coming up on teams we would play. I just don't think anything should be off the table, and we need to take on those challenges. So I actually like the balance of the 12. I think the hard part was this was the first year that it comes in where it's going now every year. And NDSU's move just put some wrinkles into the scheduling that we knew next fall just wasn't going to be perfect.
Let me ask you about the move. You and I have talked about this constantly, I think, over the last 5 years. You've always told me you wanted to be tethered to NDSU. You guys are not tethered now in football. What does that mean for South Dakota State going forward?
Yeah, I think the first thing, the real impact is just not having the game. The Dakota Marker is, you talk college game days, usually putting us on their list for that week. You talk full buildings, you talk the history of it, and you talk probably playoff implications. And so, that having that solid game that it's going to be probably a top 2 or 3 matchup. I think that's the one for me. And just with the history, I've always respected NDSU, and I think they're everything that's right about college football, those games. So from a humanistic, personal level, obviously disappointed. I don't know. It really doesn't change as far as what we're trying to do and how we're trying to go about it, which is still filling our building, winning games, trying to win championships, and then positioning ourselves that if the world continues to evolve and change and there's different options or we've got to structure it differently based on what the Power Four does, we just need to be very well positioned and take care of that. We'll certainly be, from a strategic planning standpoint, building as if that next level could be there in the next 5 years, and what do we need to do to be there. So it doesn't change our day to day, but missing that game, that'll be a tough one.
Justin, you feel like you guys are positioned? If the phone call came now, we're ready to go?
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's interesting. And a lot of people have asked me about NDSU's decision, and I'm like, well, first off, that's theirs and the factors that were there and the call that was made and to be able to do it. But I've also told them, look, NDSU is going to win a lot of games in the Mountain West. Like, they will be competitive. They'll be competitive right out of the gate, and it would not surprise me at all if they're competing for not only league championships, but opportunities at some point to get in the CFP. And if Matt can get done kind of a instant card to get in right away, that's a huge deal. And so I think both of our programs, from a talent standpoint, how we run our operations, and certainly our budgets are up there enough that you can close that gap. So I do think we would be prepared. Now, saying that, it's not easy, and there's NIL resources and other things that have to come along. We now get the luxury of kind of building over the next several years, building those up to be in that spot in a better place. So, yes, but we could definitely be there.
I know you love interacting with Jackrabbit fans. What has that been like over the last couple of months? Like, hey, what the bleep are we doing? Are you getting that a lot over the last few months?
No, I think one of the reasons, and I'm starting year 18 here at the end of this month, I think our fans have always valued just the broader piece of the things we do, the contributions we make to our community, the types of student athletes we have here. They love to obviously come to games. They're showing up in droves, and it doesn't matter if it's volleyball, wrestling, football, basketball, they're here. And I've never felt, if we lost the one big game, that heads need to roll or that we need to make big changes. I think we built up some trust, certainly with our fan base. They know we know when to be patient. We also know when to be aggressive. And I just had a lot of people say, hey, stay the course. We trust you. In fact, I would say, Dom, the last 2 or 3 months, the donations, some of the things that we've done for multi-year commitments, our annual auction just raised $3 million on Saturday, which was a new record by $450,000. Our fans are saying, look, we're not going to go anywhere, and we're behind you.
I got to ask, we saw the story come out last week, and I know people had questions about it, how Brooklyn Meyer is still eligible to play volleyball. We're knee-deep in the 5-for-5 discussion, but how did this come about that she's still got another year to torment the Summit League?
Yeah, well, years past, we had Dale Moss played basketball for 4 years and then played football for a year. Ketty Corneman a long time ago with women's basketball. Actually, I think did volleyball and track and field after her basketball career. So, Brooklyn obviously played as a true freshman, so she used those 4 years, and she has an additional year to use in another sport. She played volleyball in high school, and I think our coach had talked to her maybe mid-year and said, hey, if there's interest at the end of the year, let's talk again. So the last couple of weeks they did, and I think our team is excited, our fan base is excited, and then it'll be really interesting to see what she does on the volleyball court.
I think she's going to be A-okay there. Last thing before we go, on your thoughts on 5 years, 5 of eligibility. It seems like that's an inevitability. How does that change for you as AD of like, okay, who has scholarships and what that means going forward?
Yeah, I think, and I think this is the part that will be cleaned up here in the next week or two, but just making sure that it's clear that it's the next group of student athletes coming in. So we know this group is in this segment and then the new one. So we don't have another COVID situation with trying to manage eligibility. Will that hold from a lawsuit standpoint? That'll be interesting, but I think that's got to be a key piece. I like the 5 for 5. I think it eliminates a lot of waivers, a lot of games playing, the 6th year stuff. I think it gets things in at least in a bracket. But Dom, I would also say, then it allows us to look at, okay, is there work we can do on the transfer issue? If that's a one-time transfer in a 5-year window, and the federal government helps us with some NIL pieces related to the states, tying us all together. I think if we could get those 3 changes, that would be a tremendous help for all of us in the business. At least we're kind of knowing what we're working towards, and there's some better brackets around the issues that are really causing the major problems today.
Well, we need about 5 more days worth of shows. We can figure that out. But as it is, we're out of time here. I really appreciate you doing this. Be well. Will I see you next week at track? Are you coming up for the Summit League Track Championships?
I am not. I'm actually out of town next weekend.
I know you're a busy man. We'll catch up soon. Thanks again for the time this morning, okay?
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks,
Good
Tom.
to see you. There he goes, Justin Sell, Athletic Director at South Dakota State. Some really good stuff there on the Jackrabbits and their football plans. I saw that over the weekend. That's why I wanted to have them on, that they raised $3 million out of their auction that they had Saturday night. They're humming. Whether the phone call comes is a whole other deal, but that was the thing Matt Larson told me time and time again when asked about FBS. We are positioned to do it. I asked him that. They believe they are positioned to do it. Now the question is, will the phone call ever come? We'll see. We're waiting another phone call here. If NDSU is going to be postseason eligible. We'll find out. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things. Get you ready for a busy Sports Thursday. Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com wraps up after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Thursday morning. Tomorrow, Corey Provis will be with us to give us everything updated on the Minnesota Twins. Not great news out of the nation's capital regarding the old Minnesota Nine, on top of the fact they got their brains beat in yesterday by Washington. This update on Mick Abel comes from Dan Hayes, who's the athletic reporter for the Twins. Says Mick Abel felt soreness after throwing a simulated bullpen on Saturday and received a cortisone shot in his tricep. First went on the injured list with elbow inflammation. Minnesota Twins will reevaluate him on Tuesday. Now, they did get better news on Joe Ryan. Ryan threw a bullpen yesterday. Felt good about that. He continues to be on pace for Saturday in Cleveland. Of course, he pulled himself out of the game on Sunday. That ton of red flags that were coming up on that, and that start against Toronto. We didn't get out of the first inning, but looks like, at least knock on wood here, that they may have avoided anything serious with Joe Ryan, that we may be able to see him this weekend. So we'll have much more with Corey Provis on the Twins coming up tomorrow. Also, full recap and reaction on whatever the vote comes down on the Oversight Committee's decision either to allow North Dakota State to be postseason eligible this fall or not, and on the NCAA basketball tournament expansion, because that sounds like that may come to a head as well today. So we may have a action-packed Friday show to take you into the weekend. Financially, I wanted to throw this out there as well. This is why it's a small reason, but it's not on the Bison being eligible. This is I looked up the contract again right at the end of the show. The Bison would get a $1 million bonus for a college football playoff appearance with a 50% share of CFP and bowl game revenue. That's a ton of money. Mind you, they've already spent $12.5 million to get into the league. They'd also receive a full 100% share in conference bowl expense reimbursements. That's not a small number. And they would also receive a full share of conference championship game revenue, which is between $50,000 to $75,000 once it's eligible. So if they get ruled eligible today, then they're in line to get that no matter if they're in the game or not. That's how the revenue sharing agreement works in the league. So there's some financial windfall that could come this way if NDSU is deemed eligible. We'll find out in the next couple hours or so, and full breakdown on that coming up tomorrow on the show. All right, let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. What to Watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Don't forget, we got Class B baseball tonight here on Extra. Kindred and Central Cass from lovely Kindred, North Dakota. Coverage with Sam Goetzinger begins at 5 o'clock. Double dip, 7 innings in Game 1, 5 innings in Game 2. Also tonight, we got the Twins going as they wrap up the series with the Nationals. Noon start there, a little matinee baseball on Twins TV. Game 2 of the Lakers and the Thunder tonight on Amazon Prime at 8:30. Another signature PGA event, the Truist Championship, gets going from North Carolina. That starts at 1 o'clock on the Golf Channel. Our thanks to Kevin Feeney, to Sam Goetzinger, and to Justin Sell. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Everybody have a great Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.